Here we have a Westwood S1500H from 2012, and it has not been maintained very well at all. The deck is rotten, it's all covered in grass, the gearbox is packed up with grass, I very much doubt that works well. But the worst thing of all is the engine. It's a Briggs & Stratton Powerbuilt Series 4, so it's like the Intech, very common engine, I quite like them. But it's decided that it would rather have its internal parts on the outside of the engine. And I didn't see this happen, but the owner of this said they were going uphill, they were mowing uphill, and it went bang. And I immediately thought, well, that's going to be lack of oil. And to my horror, when I took the dipstick out and I looked at it, that's what it had on it. How on earth did this keep going up until the point they were on an incline? How did it not just blow up the moment they started it up in the shed or wherever it was stored? I think if nothing else, this is a fantastic advert for Briggs & Stratton to say how robust their engines actually are. Don't think they can quite run to saying their engines will run with zero oil, but this is getting quite close. Now, did the owner drain the oil before they started to dismantle this engine? Because I didn't do this, somebody else did. And, well, this is the quick drain, and it doesn't look like it's been touched. It's still very, very dirty. You can see the dust, the grime on there. You do have to twist that collar by hand, and it doesn't look like anyone's touched it. So I would say they have not drained the oil, which is amazing. So yeah, the owner took the head off. They obviously made their decision to find out exactly what damage they had done through not changing the oil probably ever. And then they left the head off and it rusted. But that's not a major problem. That's the least of my worries. Here's the piston. Just look at that, the piston pin, the clip here, all fractured. The main piston's fractured. The connecting rod looks amazing. And there are various pieces of that connecting rod beautifully distributed throughout the inside of the engine, which we'll take a look at in a minute. But yeah, I think it's actually a 2011, yeah, because it's 2012 mower, 2011. And I put the shrink wrap on here because it was exposed. It has got a cast iron sleeve, and basically any moisture will just allow that to rust really, really quickly. And it's been really foggy the last few days, so very moist air. Okay, so what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to get the engine removed from the mower. I'm going to inspect it, I'm going to dismantle it. We're going to find out exactly what has happened inside. Well, we know what's happened, but we want to find out exactly what's been damaged when it exploded, when it went bang. And if it is all good and the connecting rod has not in any way damaged this crankcase, which would be quite unusual, but if it hasn't, then it's all going to come down to parts availability and money. And believe me, Briggs & Stratton's parts prices have gone insane. Just quickly, take a look at that gearbox. There are no fins on the fan at all. It's been so caked up, it's just broken them all off. And without those fins working, cooling the gearbox, it will just overheat and it'll break it. And it's got some nice natural insulation too. But this is not the focus for this video. We're just going to be looking at the engine. Well, hopefully that gives you a good idea of how much maintenance this machine has had. It's exactly this that rots the decks. Now, for whatever reason, this mower actually does not have a battery in it. I didn't remove it, it just didn't have it when I got it. So I've just attached my boost pack there, my jump pack, and we should be able to get the hours. Because on these it's a genuine reading. 214. Yes, it only records when the engine is actually running and you can't reset it. So that's interesting. 214 hours in total until it went bang. I wonder if that's the original oil. I wonder if it ever did get an oil change. The headlights work, so that's something. And there we have it on the work table. So I can now remove this shrink wrap that I put on here just to protect everything. And it looks like even with that on, it has started to rust a little bit up here inside the bore, but that won't be a major problem. Just wanted to prevent the entire thing from rusting. But yeah, this is basically as I received it. So we've got like the carburetor here, the intake manifold hanging off. Probably best that I remove that immediately. If the crankcase is good, then, well, the next thing we'll have to look at is the crankshaft, because the crankshaft is obviously another fairly large sum of money. I'll just show you what we can see so far. So you can see we've got a lot of smearing on there. That is the aluminium from the connecting rod, which is smeared over the crankshaft journal. And, well, it really comes down to whether or not it's actually gouged, because you can melt the aluminium off there using hydrochloric acid, of course being very careful. So yeah, we've got many things to establish. We need to find out exactly if this is actually a viable rebuild. Well, that's good to see. Very commonly, when they throw a conrod, it goes through here, behind the starter motor. And I don't see a hole yet, although there could be. There could be something somewhere, which I have not spotted yet. That's the thing about it. Maybe Hoggy will be able to sniff it out. But yeah, mustn't lose this, and that's for the wire. As always, keeping all my bolts nice and separate in one of these organisers. Very handy to have. Okay, so, well, we've got a few electrics here. They will pull off there. And these will pull out here. Okay, and that's going to be separated there. And we can take this out, the dipstick. Wonderful. And I actually haven't drained any oil out of it yet, so now that it's on the workbench, I'm going to drain whatever it does have in it into a pot, and we can examine that closely, although I know it's full of shavings. Hate to say it, but I wonder if all the oil in this engine will fit in this little pot. It's going to be interesting to find out. So let's get this quick drain opened up. I hate these quick drains. So I love them and I hate them at the same time, because they do make it a lot easier for draining the oil, but they leak. They commonly leak. And people, for some reason, don't notice the slow leak that they're getting all over their lawnmower chassis. And then eventually they don't have enough oil and it blows the engine up. The conrod usually goes flying. Okay, so we do have one pot. We're going to measure these, see how many we actually have in total. And the first pot, well, doesn't look terrible because, well, it's very dark, but it doesn't have many shavings. It's got glitter in it. We're going to discover the big chunks when we open it up. here's number 2 and number 3. Now bear in mind this should have, I think it's just over a litre, because it doesn't have the oil pump. We are way off the mark here, although that is 3. Looks like that's it. So just over 3.5. We'll call it 3 3/4. So there we have it. Really not much at all. Oh, Hoggy, no. I can see a reflection of some spanners in there. So anyway, the most concerning thing to me so far for the viability of this thing is that it does not turn over. Now, I know that might sound like a fairly stupid comment, but we clearly do not have the connecting rod or the piston in here. So it means the crankshaft is locked up with either another component inside or with the bushing in the top of the crankcase or with the sump. And if it's, if it's smeared all the aluminium in the bottom of the sump, plain bushing, then the sump will need to be replaced. That can't be changed. The top one can, so that's not the end of the world. For those who are not new to my channel, you will know that I did do the John Deere ride on mower engine rebuild, and that was just about, I don't know, 6 months ago, 5 months ago. And that was a very similar engine to this, except it did have the oil pump, which just, assists with the filtering of the oil, but nothing will save the engine if you don't put oil in it at all. So that had the same problem, except that one, after it threw the conrod, that one wasn't locked up. So this one seems to be potentially worse. And I did save that engine. And it's still running today. Well, as you would hope, it's only a few months ago, but yeah. Anyway, let's get this flywheel removed. Then we can go inside. The exciting part. Good to see it's nice and clean in here anyway. Usually full of water and grass. Looks like their ceiling cap design was a good idea. It's not super easy to see, but it looks like, oh, I can see something living on there. It looks like the key has just started to shear. That will be from the impact. We'll have a close look at that when I actually get the flywheel removed. But to do that, we're going to have to use a puller. Well, they usually go with a big bang. That was very gentle. Ugh. They get me every time. Oh yeah, somebody did leave a comment actually on my last video saying please don't show spiders. I think we're just going to have to accept that when you remove a flywheel on an engine, you're going to get a spider. I think I forgot that myself then. I'm actually quite interested by spiders. I do find them quite fascinating, but they always make me jump. I don't know why, but that is just a house spider. Or in this case, an engine spider. Come on, chap. Let's go. And here we are ready to remove the sump. But before we do, let's just have a listen. Yeah. You can hear the pieces moving around. It's not terrible, but I know that it is terrible. So let's just remove this key. And then the collar. And then we have a series of bolts. And now for the moment of truth. Right, very, very carefully because bits are falling out. Okay, yep, sump damage. That's big end piece from the connecting rod. So much shrapnel in here. But yeah, that was taken out. You could argue just JB weld it. That's not what I do. Yep, some things can be JB welded, but when it comes to the inside of engines, I don't want to do that. I want to do a proper job. So I wonder if it is just that massive chunk. Yes, I think it probably is that massive, two massive chunks of connecting rod which is stopping it from turning. Yeah, look at that. That's good news. That's very good news. So I don't want to ruin this, you know. You only get one take when it comes to dismantling a blown up engine, and I want you to get the best view. So let's reposition. There we go, front row seats. So here we have the oil slinger, which lubricates the engine. It's also the governor. It's got the governor weights on it for regulating the engine speed. And the last time, this is what got hit. The governor and the governor shaft here took the main impact, but it looks like on this one it didn't at all. So it just shows how different they can be, and usually they go out the side of the engine crankcase. So if you don't lose the crankcase, you're very lucky, and it looks like... I'm not going to speak too soon actually, I'm not going to say a word. Let's just dismantle. But there you go, there's a chunk missing out the synchro balancer. But I'm pretty sure, I don't know, maybe I was seeing things, but I'm sure I saw a bigger chunk, so we might find a bigger chunk missing out the other side. But anyway, here's the camshaft, and that's what's supporting these pieces of, of connecting rod. It is always easiest to remove the camshaft if the timing marks are aligned, but of course we do not have the head on, so it's unknown if it's going to make a difference. I don't think it is going to make a difference. No. Okay, well they're going to try and fall out, but there is part of the connecting rod. It really did go, didn't it? But they always do. Whew, look at that gouge. It's funny, it's not too discoloured. Usually you get a lot of discolouring on the outside from where it's heated up, from the friction before it blows. It looks like this one just blew. So back to the camshaft, because yeah, I can see there has been an impact on it there. Oh, and yep, the compression release has been bent badly, and they fail at the best of times. So yeah, that's had it. It's been hit. Just there. Fascinating. I absolutely love looking at engines that are blown up, because you don't normally get the exact same explosion 2 times in a row. They always go at a different point, so I guess it just depends where the connecting rod is in the stroke, or where the piston is in the stroke. That will determine where the connecting rod goes flying. So there's another piece. That's actually the bolt, one of the bolts that holds the connecting rod onto the crankshaft. Absolutely fascinating. So this is where I need to start marking things, because if we are going to rebuild, we need to keep things which are good. So here we have our first valve tappet, and then we have the other one as well, intake and exhaust. And yes, there is quite a bit of oil now leaking everywhere. I just tipped it forwards, bit of a mistake. But anyway, we are ready. We're ready for the crankshaft. Right, so that is locked up. It's not turning within, it should turn within the synchro balancer. But I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised at all. We just need to determine exactly what it is at fault, but it's hopefully just some aluminium that's smeared on these, because these are basically bearings. So yeah, it's, again, it's still too early to say, but it's not great, not terrible. I just keep looking at this just to see if I've got any kind of crack, or certainly a hole. That'd be terrible, but just need to know if this thing is good. What it needs really is like an x-ray, but unfortunately we're not that sophisticated in this workshop, or should I say shed. Right, I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to fully study these parts, and I'll get back to you and I'll tell you exactly what I have found. I've just studied every single part very closely to determine whether or not it can be reused, and I've created a list of parts that I know that I definitely do need, and I've managed to get a price for all of these. So let's start from the top. The crankshaft, £151.20. The reason for this is because there is some fairly serious gouging. It actually, I can't really turn it, but yeah, it does get a lot worse in areas. Let me just have a look here. Yes. We've got some really good gouges out there. That's not just aluminium that's smeared on the surface. It is as well, but yeah, it's actually gouged. So really not good. And yes, these bearings here are totally seized onto there, so the crankshaft doesn't even turn. But yeah, anyway, that needs to be purchased for it. The camshaft, £88. That's really gone up since the last time I bought one. I think the last one I bought was about £60. The connecting rod, £67.80. That's sort of what I expected. The piston, £52. That's not too bad. That includes the rings and the clips, and I think the piston pin as well. The sump, and this is getting silly, £264.90 for that. Okay, so I know it's quite a chunk of aluminium, but still. The balancers, now this is not for the entire balancer. It does not include the weight. It's just for these two bearings that go on here. Oh, and the clip. Yeah, we need the clip, because I like to replace that if I can do. And yeah, that would be £56, including the clip. And then again, gaskets, genuine gaskets, £98 is the best I can find, but that's plus postage, so it's about £103 for genuine gaskets. Or aftermarket, £18, quite a difference. It does make you wonder why genuine is so much higher. So anyway, this comes to £777.90, which is absolute insanity, especially as a short block is £607.20. When I say short block, that is basically all of the internal parts of the engine, including the crankcase, all built up, so not including all of the exterior parts, so like carburetor, starter motor, flywheel, all that sort of stuff. So still, we're well below that, so you might as well just buy this. However, because I have experienced these engines before which have blown up and I've kept parts from them, I reckon I can get this price here down to $345. Still very, very expensive, because of course this is plus labor, but yeah, I think I can get it down to that. And the reason why is because from another engine that's blown up, I've got a sump which looks to be all good. This is an engine where the connecting rod went through the side of the crankcase, so it just departed through the side and didn't really cause any damage to the rest of the components. So that immediately is £264.90 saved, so that's wonderful. And then the other one which I think I can save money on, well, I reckon I could probably use the aftermarket gaskets. Now this annoys me, because I don't want to use aftermarket gaskets. I want to use genuine. But these prices, they're very questionable. So I'm going to give it a go. I don't normally, but I'm going to give it a go. When I receive them, if I think they're not good, I will just buy these. But anyway, the other thing which I think I can save money on is the camshaft. Because it's actually not the same engine as this one. It's another one. It's from like, when would it have been? 2016 or something. I had another engine, and yeah, I managed to get a camshaft. And you've got to be careful with these, because there are actually two different types. There's a little notch in the bottom of here. Basically, if it's got an oil filter, it has a little notch because it runs the pump. And the other ones do not have that. So this is the correct one for this. Don't start that game. They keep going for ages. So yeah, anyway, that is basically what I'm hoping is going to be happening. I'm thinking I am going to do this. It's going to take a long time to get the parts. Last time I ordered parts for one of these, it took a long time for them to come from Briggs and Stratton. So I'll be doing other projects in the meantime. And well, if I can get it past the finance team, I will be putting the order in today. But we'll see about that. I'll have to have words. If I give him some tasty food, he might be more willing for me to put the order in right now. We'll see. But anyway, it's been an interesting video. I always enjoy dismantling these, finding out exactly what gets damaged when it goes bang. And, well, most of the time, all you've got to do to prevent this from happening, to save all this massive expense, is just to check your oil and replace the oil every year or two. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just the way people are, I guess. They just think they can just keep jumping on the mower every year without doing anything to it at all. But I suppose if they didn't do this, I wouldn't have a video to put out to you. So it's all good for entertainment. And hopefully you find it a little bit educational as well. But yeah, Briggs and Stratton, please review your parts prices. It's like you're trying to stop people from fixing up engines, because it's financially very, very difficult. I'm going to try and fund this through this video. So part one of this little mini series will hopefully partially fund some of the parts for part two. We'll see how it goes. Don't think I'll be able to fund it fully. Yeah, this video is not going to make £345, but we will see. Thank you everybody for your support. Always very much appreciated. Thank you to all my channel members, Patreon members, and of course anybody just watching the adverts. Always very much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in part two, which will probably be in a few weeks from now. Maybe a few months, depends on how long it takes for the parts. And yeah, there'll be other projects coming along before then. So see you again soon. Bye for now.